Are you ready to learn the top books that I've read in the last decade that has helped me when it comes to my life as an entrepreneur and also working from home? If this is your first time on my channel, my name is Lai Lacaba. I run a virtual assistant agency here in the Philippines, 2XU, and I post videos every Sunday and Thursday on how to work from home and how to have a business from home, so make sure to hit the subscribe button right there so you don't miss any of my video. Now, one thing that might be obvious about me, just because based on my videos and my background, is I love books. I have like 3 bookshelves. There's one that you guys don't even see, just because I grew up being a bookworm. Like, my mom was also really a bookworm. If you guys go to my childhood home, we have books everywhere as well. It's kind of something that's made my journey from working since I was 15 and I'm now 27, of like finding different stories and ways of how other people have succeeded, that has definitely helped me in my whole journey in the last 10 years. So I'm gonna go through the top books that are my favorites. I've reread a couple times even, just because they are really good insights. So if you're looking for just books that you want to start reading or audiobooks you want to start listening to, I do bet a lot of these books are actually on YouTube for other audiobook version for free that you guys can check out, but I'll go through step by step. Now, as a disclaimer, I don't have a physical copy of all of these books because for a time in my life where I didn't really have a big of a bedroom, I didn't collect books until mostly until I moved to this room. So I read most of this in ebook version, so I'll be showing my iPad for the book, but that's just a little bit of a disclaimer. Now, for the first book on this list, it's going to be How to Win Friends and Influence People by Dale. Now, this is honestly one of my top books of all time. I read this when I moved from Tacloban to Cebu to where I am now, and it was one of the books, honestly, that kind of changed a lot about a little bit of my social awkwardness and a little bit of my social anxiety, because I do still have it from time to time. But a lot of the things that are in the book are basically step-by-step ways of how you can show up, how to win friends and influence people. Tips like remember their name, tips like smile, tips like don't complain, because that's not really gonna win you a lot of fans. And when I first read it, even I remember that I put post-it notes all over my wall in the bedroom that I was in, because I really wanted to remember a lot of the principles. In fact, then I had to rummage around my room because I remembered I had this. I actually still have those post-it notes. I have like How to Win Friends and Influence People. So this is like the actual post-its that I put around my wall. It has like, principle number 4, begin in a friendly way. It has like let the other person feel that their idea is his or hers. So a lot of the tips in that book talks about like how to make friends, how to be the kind of person that people want to be with, without of course sacrificing your own self-identity, without sacrificing how you see yourself. So overall, that's why it's on the number 1 on this list, although the rest of this list is not really chronological. It's the first book that if you just want to get started on self-development, on working on yourself, that book is a good way, because it's focusing on how to show up for other people. Next, and again, this is not really in chronological order, is the book Emyth by Michael Gerber. So you can see that it's like been reread and reread by me. So that book has been one of the first books that kind of introduced me on the entrepreneur mindset. So it's called Emyth, or the Entrepreneur Myth, and it talks about like how to get into the point where you are thinking as this is a business, and then you can create multiple businesses after that. Before that, I was really thinking of business like, you start one company and you have that forever. Emyth introduced me to the idea of like how to think about it to the point where you can, maybe if later on you want to franchise or you want to sell your company, how to get to that point. It is honestly one of the top books that I recommend for anyone who wants to start thinking like an entrepreneur. And a lot of people say the same thing, but it truly is one of my favorite entrepreneur books. The next book on my list, and one that has actually a ton of books in the series, is The 1 Minute Manager by Ken Blanchard. Now, this has also a self-leadership in the 1 Minute Manager and leadership in the 1 Minute Manager, and I even have a copy of it, and 1 Minute Manager builds high performance teams, and 1 Minute Mentoring. So it is a whole series, and as you guys have seen, I've collected a lot of those books because it's really well written, because they always write it from a stories perspective, and it teaches you how to successfully manage people, manage teams, manage companies. And for me as a leader, that was one of the first books I was like, that's how you do it. It's different when you are a leader versus when you're an ate, which is what I've been most of my life until I read that book. I was like, that's how you can give feedback. That's how you can get people to get on the right track. That's how you deal with people on different tasks on different projects. So it really opened my eyes a lot on how to successfully deal with the people that I'm working with, to make sure that we are, have that clarity, to the point where I now have, 2XU. We're now training managers in 2XU, and having that book really has helped me have that clarity moving forward. The next book that has helped me a lot is the book Getting Things Done by David Allen. So this is a book that I recommend to anyone who wants to be better at their productivity. So in last week's video, I talked about a lot of the productivity tips that I've kind of inhaled basically in the last 10 years, and Getting Things Done is definitely one of the top books that I recommend for anyone who just wants to get started on creating kind of like a system for your productivity, because he walks you through step by step on what that process is. I've done a lot of other videos on this channel even talking about like how his systems can be put into your productivity side of your career or your business. So that's why it's one of my top books, just because if you don't have a system in place of being able to work from home, it's going to be so much harder for you to have that switch of like, okay, I'm now on work mode, or I'm now just, at home. The next book that I definitely recommend is the book called Mindset by Carol Dweck. This is not my copy, this is a friend's copy. I just saw this in his library, but definitely one of the fave books that I've also read. Well, I actually listened to this as an audiobook. I actually didn't read the actual pages, and then later on I flipped through it through someone else's copy. And it's one of the books that's kind of really opened up my brain when I started trying to explore more of like, what else can I do as an entrepreneur? It taught me a lot about open mindset and limited mindset, and how it's just so much better to not think in limitations and think in abundance. So it's one of the just really good self-development book. If you've never, thought of yourself as, someone who can develop things, Mindset will give you that mindset of how to develop yourself, how to work on yourself, how to have that mindset where you are open to the world and its possibilities. The next book that I recommend is the book called Atomic Habits by James Clear. So this is one of the books that I read in 2021 that I start just raving to everyone else, just because it's how good it is. I've said this before in my channel and I'll say it again. Building your habits is one of the things that will make or break the sustainability of you working from home long term. Building your routines, building what your day-to-day would look like, helps you kind of create that structure, because unlike if you were going to an office, you don't have to like wake up, start getting ready and then go on a transportation and then get to the office, end the day, transportation, the home, and then do it all over again the next day. When you work from home, you can, it's so tempting to just wake up at like 9 o'clock, 10 o'clock, start working then, maybe attend some meetings, maybe not, and then the blurry line of then you're up until 11 or 12 a.m. working, because again, you didn't set the routine of how you want your day to look like. You never set your habits. And again, in another video, I've talked about like the different habits that you can set working from home, which is making sure that you work out, making sure that you are developing yourself in some way with books, and all of the different habits that you can try to input into your day that will help you work from home in the long run. So that's why it's kind of really one of the top books that I have now started giving to other people, even just because it's that good. Next is a book that I've read last year that actually changed a lot of how I thought about leadership. It's called Dysfunctions Of A Team by Patrick I don't actually know how to say his last name, but it's this book that has helped me a lot when it came to me actually building a team in 2XU. Up to a point earlier last year, I didn't really have a team. I had a lot of the different assistants working directly with me, and it wasn't until last year that I started thinking, okay, as I want to build a team in 2XU, what do I want that to look like, and what are things that I should know about? And that book is kind of written as a fiction story, but of course has the lessons in it, which, as you guys have seen from my 1 Minute Manager collection, I really like that kind of nonfiction book. So it's a really good way for you to learn more about how to handle a team, how to grow a team, and how to work through the 5 dysfunctions of a team. The next book is this book, Key Person of Influence. It is written by Daniel Priestley, and it's actually funny because I read this book 2 years ago, and we've actually ended up partnering with them in 2XU, so it's very exciting. But that isn't even the reason why this is one of my favorite books. It is one of the books that, as I was building my brand here on YouTube, on LinkedIn, everywhere else, when I read this, I'm like, oh, now I have a blueprint of how I want to do this. So on my entrepreneur journey, when I was trying to set up, okay, I want 2XU to be known as this remote executive assistant company, how do I do this? What's the step-by-step process for me to do this? And Key Person of Influence definitely gave me a good blueprint. They have something called the 5 Ps, which is basically pitch, publish, product, profile, and partnership. So those are their 5 Ps of like how to become a key person of influence in your industry. So that's just another really good book for you guys. He was then interviewed interviewed later on by one of my favorite YouTubers, Ali Abdal. And that was also a cool ride to just listen to Daniel talk about like different ways that this book has also changed his life and how he got to the point where he was writing this book. So if you guys want to learn more, again, key person of influence, Daniel Priestley, you guys can check it out. Next book helped me when I was very much still an introvert leader, and I came across Brene Brown, and it's definitely a book called Dare to Lead, again by Brene Brown. And she's one of my favorite people in the world on the internet. I have watched her TED Talk too many times. I listened to her podcast, and the reason why I love her so much, and I love that book in particular, I've read other books from hers, is it talks about the vulnerability of being a leader. It talks about how to show up best for your people. That's why it's Dare to Lead. How to dare to lead. How to dare to lead with heart, with compassion, with empathy, and how to do it as an introvert. How to break out a little bit of that shell, and how to not so awkwardly do it with your people. Next book is a book called 80-20 Principle by Richard Koch, and it's one of my favorite books for entrepreneurs as well. But also, if you have a career, this is one of the best books to read as well, because it teaches you a lot of how to maximize your time, maximize your own efficiency, how to show up in the best way as well. Basically, it says the secret to how to achieve more with less. So it's kind of one of the books that I, again, for productivity, that has helped me a lot. And also, once you read that book, things kind of start opening up for you on how different things in the world works, and it was very much mind-boggling for me as I was reading it for the first time. So again, 80-20 by Richard Koch. Next book is a book that actually a friend sent to me. It's a book called Traction by Gino Wickman. So it's just literally do you have a grip on your business? That's basically its selling point, is it gives you a good structure on how to do certain things in your business, like how to state your vision, your mission, how to be able to set up your team meetings, how to set up your org chart for the first time, how to track goals, scorecards, all of that good stuff. All of that is in that book. Honestly, it's given me a structure to grow to execute to this point where, again, I now have a team and I know how to track this team, because of course I've never done that before. So it gave me that good blueprint of how to do this. Next is another really good book on being a leader, which is called Tribal Leadership. So this book has helped me a lot when it comes to how to think of 2XU in different stages of being a tribe, how to grow a tribe basically. And as much as I'm saying the word tribe, it's basically how to have your group thrive as you start going through. Again, they talk about like different stages that a business goes through, as a leader also goes through. So it just gave me, again, that really good framework of how to think, how to manage people at that different level. So yeah, Tribal Leadership, just really good book. And lastly, and I really had to add this book, it's called You Are a Badass by Jen Sincero. Now I also have her book, You Are a Badass at Making Money. I'm also going to read her book, You Are a Badass at Making Habits. But this book, honestly, I was in a really dark place in my life when I read this book, and this is why it's kind of like one of my top reads that I recommend to people anytime that they're struggling through life. But it was one of the books that has helped me when it came to how to think of myself, how to, and most importantly, love yourself. Like literally at the end of every chapter, she talks about love yourself. So again, at that time where I was really struggling, this was in 2021, where sadly my mom died, got out of a 10-year relationship, was figuring out where I wanted to take 2XU. When I read this book, it kind of gave me a lot of just self-confidence and getting to the point where, okay, I'm still showing up, I'm still here, okay, what do we do next? So it kind of gave me that, okay, framework and mindset to how to go in. Now, all of these books are going to be linked below. They're also affiliate links, which means that if you guys buy that, I do get a little of a piece of it, so that also helps support this channel a lot. And I hope that it helps you guys, again, with just getting started, giving you guys the framework that I got, luckily, reading all of those books, and getting you guys to the point where you're confident doing this yourself. Now, if you guys like this video and you want more of these, make sure to hit the thumbs up button right there and comment below what book has changed your life or has helped you working from home. I would love to know. I'm always open to book recommendations as always. And if you still haven't yet, make sure to hit the subscribe button right there so you don't miss any of my videos every Sunday and Thursday on how to work from home and how to have a business from home, which you guys can check out those two playlists right here and the latest video right here. I hope you guys have an awesome day. Remember that small steps matters, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye!